Greetings, Twitter. It's been a while since I've been online. I've been kind of dealing with health issues. Basically, in a nutshell, pinched nerve in my neck, and it's kept me sidelined for a while. But given the recent events that occurred yesterday, or the recent event that occurred yesterday, I wanted to come online to talk about the occurrence of the impeachment of Attorney General Ken Paxton, believe it or not. This is something that is historic. The last impeachment that occurred in the state of Texas in the legislature was in 1975. And now we have the state attorney general, who's the first state attorney general in our state, to be impeached by the Texas House. Now, in watching the impeachment, because I did watch it yesterday almost in its entirety, and it kind of had the feel that most of the Republicans, conservatives in the Texas State House, were wanting to basically, I guess, make the determination themselves whether or not Paxton was guilty. Now, for those of you that may or may not know the process for impeachment, it is not in the Texas House of Representatives' purview to review the evidence per se to determine a person's innocence or guilt. And I think that was the huge main indifference that was debated on the House floor, is that they were like, we want to see the evidence, we want to see exactly, what proof this committee has that he committed these acts, and unfortunately that's not the job of the Texas House of Representatives. That belongs to the Texas State Senate, and it's going to be their job now to go to trial and determine whether or not he is guilty as charged or he is innocent. It will be up to representatives from the actual committee in the House of Representatives to prove their case, present the evidence, and to prove to the senators who are acting as jurors that yes, Ken Paxton is guilty of what they're accusing him of. A lot of Republicans were pissed off because they were like, okay, this is a travesty. This should not have happened. But in all honesty, as I said, there is not their job to make that decision. Now, if we take a moment and analyze basically the makeup of the Texas House of Representatives, and I've got my little figures here on my Post-it note. There's a total of 150 representatives in the Texas House of Representatives. Of those 150, 86 are Republican, 64 Democrat. Now, the vote to impeach was 121 in favor, ayes, to 23 that were nays or were not in favor. So 121, let's look at that number. In order to achieve 121 votes to impeach, there must be all 64 Democrats and 57 of the 86 Republicans would have to have voted in favor. That means only 29 Republicans voted against impeaching Ken Paxton. Now, that's a huge majority of Republicans to make that vote. Now, what motivated them to vote in favor of impeachment? Something in the information that was submitted to them had to have set off some sort of red flags, as it were, for them to vote in favor of impeachment. What that was, I don't know. Now, it's been said that Paxton contacted a number of representatives to try to influenced them into voting against impeachment. I don't know if that's true or not. I think that was one of the things that pushed it towards the decision of impeachment. I don't know. Well, where it stands now is that the Senate must hold a trial to determine whether or not he is guilty or not. And in the meantime, he is suspended, believe it or not, from his serving in his office. This is, like I said, this is historic. It's amazing. It was a matter of time, given the history that this Attorney General has, the case, the investigations against him, the lawsuits against him. It was going to be a matter of time before something like this was going to occur. And given I guess the severity of it and the preponderance of whatever evidence was shown, it was enough to motivate 57 Republicans into voting to impeach him out of 86. So it's something very, very interesting to see. Question is, he's confident, and I mean I'm talking about the Texas Attorney General, is confident that he is going to be acquitted in the Senate. We don't know. In all honesty, we don't know. It just depends how confident he is as far as how much favor he has with a lot of these Republican senators in the Senate. Now, here's another interesting thing. His wife is a senator in the Senate. And more than likely, one of the things is going to happen with her. She's going to either have to recuse herself, or the lieutenant governor will have to excuse her because her vote would serve as a conflict of interest. She would be voting whether or not to convict her own husband. So her vote would be compromised regardless. And in all honesty, we don't know if he even has her vote anymore, given the scope of the allegations that are involved in this impeachment. So, I mean, the vote could be damaging to him as it could be beneficial to him, but we don't know. More than likely, she will be recused. She'll recuse herself, or she'll be excused from the vote. Whether she chooses to do that, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. All eyes right now are waiting on the Senate to see exactly what's going to happen, and I'm monitoring the Senate hearings right now to see if anything is said about the impeachment. It's down to the wire. Possibly they may have to extend the Senate sessions to include the impeachment trial, or set an appointment at a later date so that the senators can come back and exclusively have this Senate impeachment trial. That has got to be nonpartisan, and the senators will have to be impartial with respect to their judgments in this matter. Can that happen? I mean, is there going to be impartiality? We'll have to wait and see. I just wanted to, I said, come online here live and talk about this because it's very interesting this occurred, so suddenly. As you know, I'm not a proponent of Ken Paxton in totality because, number one, I believe that given the amount of lawsuits that he's filed against the federal government, that's not normal in any way, shape, or form. Given the fact how well he was associated with certain politicians, that kind of left an uneasy feeling. Also, basically, given all the controversy surrounding Ken Paxton, the investigations, the lawsuits, it was, it's kind of concerning, and I think what really, and this is the thing, because one of the key points that was brought out was that this committee could not take into consideration all these facts because they occurred before he was before the last election that he had last year in November. Now, here's the thing. I think on technical terms that is the case, but what really brought this into perspective was the fact that in February of this year, Paxton was requesting $3.3 million to pay a settlement on the lawsuit that stemmed from the facts in those previous cases and lawsuits that were plaguing him over the last years. So the fact of the matter that he made that request in February brought all this stuff into this election cycle, and I think that's the technicality that's being used in the House with which to present these articles of impeachment and vote for him to be impeached. Whether or not that's legal, I don't know. I'd have to go and read the state constitution to find out, but I would think that if they were able to proceed with this, is because there is a technicality somewhere that allows him to do so, based on the actions of his requests before the House of Representatives back in February. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. This is going to be interesting to follow along to see if he does get impeached. If he does get removed from office, it would be historical. All eyes now are on Governor Abbott to see which replacement he's going to appoint in the interim. If he's going to appoint somebody who's going to carry on with what Paxton's got going on. If that person is going to continue with all these lawsuits and all this activity, if some of this activity is going to be discontinued or not, we don't know. Everything's up in the air right now at this point, and it's just a wait-and-see game. Well, I just wanted to talk about that momentarily because, this is the news of the day, and, as y'all know, I'm usually I'm known because I will analyze a lot of Paxton's lawsuits from my point of view to see whether or not what he's suing is legal, whether or not, who is going to be the victor in these specific lawsuits, So that's my motivation. I've never really spoken in favor of or against Paxton in the sense whether I believe he's right or wrong. When I've talked about his lawsuits, I basically analyze them and say, okay, based on what I see in the evidence here and here, he's likely to win or he's likely to lose. That's the way I played it straight down the line. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I'm going to be watching. I hope you do too. Thank you for your time. This was just something I wanted to, get online. I've been wanting to do it since yesterday, but I was been out of the office, out of the house most of the day because of the Memorial Day weekend. But I didn't want a weekend to go by without getting online live and at least briefly talking about the impeachment and where we stand. I may come back online later on this evening if something develops in the Senate, and if it does, I'll be back. In the meantime, let's keep our eyes on the Senate and see what happens today with respect to the impeachment of Ken Paxton, Texas State Attorney General.